final stages in a championship which sees 3 contenders looking to battle for 1 overall crown. The challenge, though, here on what is RaceSpotTV primetime broadcast, this is arguably one of the strongest fields we have ever seen for a Friday night primetime. 4300 SOF, and it's pro Mazda field time because we're here at Circuit Park Zandvoort for what will be this final round of the championship and the final week here of RaceSpotTV primetime for the moment. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, to wherever you are in the world. I am #DoYouMindJakesberry for the second week as Will Vincent has decided to take a nice vacation. Joining me alongside, as always, here, our resident man of Connery Maddock. Connery, qualifying at the moment underway. It's Filippo Orlandi who's just gone quickest on a 1:29.1 right now. But timers are coming in for some drivers looking to score those all-important points.
Yeah, exactly. Filippo Orlandi, current championship leader, in fact, stamping his authority on this race by going faster than January boot loop by about 0.4 of a second right there. And, well, Jake, it's Zandvoort. It's a track on the North Sea coast of the Netherlands, in amongst these sand dunes. Hosted the Dutch Grand Prix all the way up until 1985, and I think it's a track that I wish Formula One returned to at some point during the future, since it is a brilliant circuit.
It certainly is, and well, when you talk about this circuit and how difficult it can be, it's really challenging. A lot of camber changes, a lot of right-hand corners as well, and the natural flow of this circuit, which edges its way through the dunes and slices it through like a knife through butter. To show this all in perspective, on-board lap then, 1 lap of Zandvoort, on board with the 15 of Ollie Croker. Of the track then done by the driver of Ollie Croker, as his timer then means that he finishes overall with qualifying and everyone's laps are done. 1:31.6 for him though at the end. Let's get a look though at how the grid looks. Filippo Orlandi, 4/10 clear of the field, 1:29.199. 4/10 clear of Marc Perez in second, and Jeremy Bootsloop for VRS Coanda Simsport in third. Martin Arnoldus there in 4th position, with Scott McIntyre second in the championship, needing a bit of luck here in 5th. Julius Pujeca in 6th. Xavier Sanchez starts 7th with Angelo Salura in 8th. Daniel Nogueras is 9th, and Jurgen Frank will round out the top 10. Let's continue on down the likes of Stefan Rostjan, Justin Lindsay, Zach Reinke there with Petri Ruotsalainen there. There's a bit of a mouthful for you. Max Bartolotto, the 3rd of the championship contenders. Joseph Newman and Ollie Croker make 17 here. A grid here, a big run down towards turn number 1, that Tarzan Bock turn 1. Always going to be difficult. It's banked, so you have the opportunity to try and run that one around the outside at any given moment. But everything in qualifying suggests it's going to be a runaway victory. Very difficult to try and run away from the likes of Marc Perez and Jeremy Bootsloop, but specialists are what specialists do, and sometimes the specialist is better than the versatile all-rounder. Drivers like Julius Puheka will be looking to try and get some good results out of this. So we're just waiting for 2 cars to get onto the grid. Martin Arnoldus and now Scott McIntyre will be holding the entire field at ransom here just for the moment. And this is going to be 20 laps of racing here today. Expecting around half an hour, maybe 35 minutes for the racing action to go. And, well, 10 seconds remain before we get this race underway. Onto the grid comes Scott McIntyre. Up rise the engine notes. Let's give us a green light, because we are ready to go, and it's a pretty good start from Filippo Orlandi. Side by side, they'll go for 5th and 6th then. As you can see also, Marc Perez under a lot of pressure there. A little bit of a move there. Boutaloop having to back out of things in the early goings there as he gets himself into 3rd position. Marc Perez up into 2nd. Arnoldus there. McIntyre, Puheka at the track, slopes its way down in as they all look to file it on and get themselves through. Thankfully though, Connery, it's a clean starting for all except one.
Yeah, rather clean start, and most of your drivers are single file right now, but the number 12 and the number 6, this is Nogueras and Lindsay. They're still going to head away battling through the turn 4, turn 5 section here. Lindsay's just going to lose out here around the outside as Nogueras takes that position. Yeah,
Nogueras taking that position, doing a good job of taking that position as well. So Nogueras now just trying to make some moves through this field here. It's a difficult mid-pack. Jurgen Frank, Javier Sanchez, all in that mix then here is Javier Sanchez looking a lot here on the back of Angelo Solura's in front of them. They're going to go side by side, and Scott McIntyre, 2nd in the championship, gets a little bit of a tap from the driver in Martin Arnoldus. So Arnoldus then getting a little bit involved, and that's what Scott McIntyre doesn't want as Jurgen Frank decides to back out of it. McIntyre is now just grasping here a couple of moves, Connery, and he just needs to stay calm with the way that he's making these happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the most ideal first lap for him, especially with his championship fight with your current race leaders. He runs wide yet again, coming towards the end of the lap, and he's going to have a huge momentum loss coming out of the final corner here. He's going to come under threat from Jurgen Frank, and Jurgen Frank will get that position done as they come towards the start-finish line this time by. As actually goes very, very close to the wall there to Scott McIntyre. Now he's under risk from Daniel Nogueras around the outside of turn number 1, but he's going to make his way down the inside instead of Jurgen Frank as they take it side by side out of there.
Into Gerlach they come along, and well, for the moment it's going to have to be back out of it there. Scott McIntyre couldn't do anything on Jurgen Frank as Sanchez in front runs a little bit wide, but at the front of the field it's still Filippo Orlandi, championship leader, race leader at the moment. Perez 2nd, Boutaloop 3rd, train of 3 breakaway as things stand as Lindsay gets involved in a big wreck. The 6 machine turned around at Hasenboat, and well, he was in that big train heading themselves down into that turn number 3 difficult braking zone. He just got a little bit out wide there, Connery, just tangled wheels, and it's so easy to turn this Pro Mazda around after that.
Yep, exactly. Just coming down on the entry to Hugenholtz there, and I think you have to put most of the blame onto Ruotsalainen right there. He went in a little bit too hot into the corner and too close to the car ahead of him in terms of his right-hand side. Just spun him right around. Caused a little bit of pandemonium behind his drivers, had to avoid him. I think that was the car of Stefan Rossagen as well. That had to come to a complete stop to avoid him. Luckily, no contact for him.
Jurgen Frank's been involved in the incident as well on that lap. Contact with, oh dear, guess who? And that is Scott McIntyre who's been involved in that one then. The pair of them were heading themselves towards Marlborough and Renault and those sorts of corners. And it was just a case of one tap on the rear, and it changes everything. At the front of the field, though, battle for your race lead. Marc Perez down to the inside. Marc Perez up to the front for now.
Yeah, but he still heads side by side with Filippo Orlandi, as Orlandi's going to take that position back, in fact, as they come through this left-hander right here. So this battle definitely isn't over. Both drivers are relatively similar pace as they head their way out. Turn 3 coming up through turn 4 and turn 5. This sweeping section as you transition from downhill all the way to uphill into turn 6 is another downhill corner as well. It's amazing how much this track changes elevation over the course of it. Meanwhile, it's still going to be Filippo Orlandi leading. Marc Perez still on his tail though.
Yeah, Marc Perez just trying to apply the pressure to Filippo Orlandi. Orlandi doesn't have to do too much here in this situation. He knows that if he just finishes ahead here in this race of his rival, Scott McIntyre, the championship is going to be all but his. Perez and Bootloop, as Primetime normally does, it's normally there for a little bit of fun and to show their worth in this. Marc Perez tucks right underneath into the Audi S, into the right, and then this difficult bank left-hander. Get on the power as late as you possibly dare before you get yourself onto these final two corners. And this is something about this circuit here, Connery, which makes this Will Vincent's favourite. The final two, the last corner and the first corner, are banked. This had oval interior design put into what is a road circuit, as Marc Perez now looks to make the move again.
Yeah, here we go, side by side down the pit straight. Perez is going to have to try around the outside on Filippo Alandi. Coming down into turn one, he can use that banking to help him around there, but it's still not quite going to work in terms of completing the pass, but it still allows him to get side by side coming up to turn two, and then to turn three, this left-hander here, as Perez just trying to search for a line that works, but he just can't find one just for now.
No, he can't. He's looking for that magic maneuver here as he heads up through the S's section. The draft becoming a bit of a factor. Not really too much there to say on downforce of dirty air, because they are running pretty much nose to tail in this vehicle as they head themselves around Shivak. Turn number 7 up on circuit. Now into these little series of right-handers that slow and decrease the pace more and more and more as they get themselves down onto the brakes and going again. Jeremy Bootloop now back onto this train, and a fantastic battle for 4th and 5th as well, starting to try and close in. Junius Puheka with a big wiggle there as he headed through Renault, well, actually Vodafone there, Connery, as he was trying to just stay on the back of Martin Arnoldus.
Yeah, that's just going to drop him back just a couple of tenths as they head their way down into the Audi S. Top 3 cars all now very, very close together because the top 2 cars had been fighting last lap. That has just allowed Jeremy Bootloop to reel that gap in just a little bit, and that's something that top 2 drivers just have to be careful of. Jeremy Bootloop, we know he can take any opportunity that presents himself as defensive inside line, sort of like an IndyCar move there from Filippo Alandi, just trying to break the draft coming down the pit straight, not give Marc Perez an opportunity on the brakes coming down into turn 1.
2 cars at this event are Justin Lindsay and Jürgen Frank here in this one. And of course, these Pro Masters are probably the closest thing at the moment on the iRacing service here, Connery, to likes of, say, the Indy Lights right now as the 15 and the 16 go together. That's Ollie Croker and Zach Reinke, or they almost touch. Then a pair of them there, Croker and Reinke. Reinke on the inside for turn number 3. Croker's going to take the long outside, and Ollie Croker is going to take the position away from Reinke in the 16. That's one of the things about this circuit. You can use the outside line around here. Connery, this circuit is built for overtaking, even though sometimes in certain vehicles it becomes a lot more difficult as an art.
Yeah, exactly, and we might see if Reinke has an opportunity coming down into this section of right-handers here. He does look towards the inside line for Renault, and he's going to try, but he's going to lose that advantage when it comes to Vodafone because Ollie Croker will have the inside line instead. Maybe he's looking for the little bit of a switch back here coming off the exit of the corner, try and carry more momentum, and he does so. He has a better run coming out of Vodafone than Ollie Croker does. Croker's going to have to force him around the outside, at least for the first part of the Audi S, but then Reinke has the advantage for this part of the Audi S, the banked section, as he gets a good run out there and gets the position gained.
And all that time allows Stefan Rosgen then onto the back. Rosgen, that is there in the 11 now, back into this battle, as behind that Joseph Newman as well here, who has lost that 1 position during this one here. But at the front of the field though, little bit of a move trying from Marc Perez into Gerlach, but he's not going to get it there as they head into that big turn number 3 carousel-esque sort of corner. Marc Perez has been looking and searching here, Connery, but the pair of them are breaking away from Jeremy Bootloop. The problem that is there for Orlandi though is that 1 lap pace is not there. We are keeping on the position number 12 battle though here as Zach Reinke now has tried to break away. Ollie Croker now under immense amounts of pressure.
Yeah, that was Rosgen trying to make his way down somewhere around Ollie Croker, around the turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 section. Tried inside line, tried outside line, but none of those worked, and he still remains behind just for now, as this is the battle for P number 12. And a car of Joseph Newman may also get involved in this one, as he has caught up the gap that existed between these guys and him. Meanwhile, Zach Reinke is trying to pull away from this group while they're fighting.
Yeah, they are pulling away. Well, Zach Reinke is pulling away right now, and Reinke is doing a good job here. He's managed to get himself into that pocket hole of air. The issue he's about 4 or 5 seconds here behind the next train here, the likes that has Scott McIntyre in it and Angelo Solura. Scott McIntyre here, Connery, he is in the middle of the train. He's had a couple of incidents already, and that instant point limit is going to be high for the couple of contacts he's already had.
Yeah, he has to tread very, very carefully here with the instant limit that iRacing do enforce during these official series races. As there was a lot of brake smoke coming down into turn 1 there. That was actually, in fact, Scott McIntyre, the same driver we were talking about with the incidents, very deep on the brakes coming down into turn 1, trying to find a gap on Solura as he looks towards the inside now, coming down turn 3, but backs out of it just in time. That was very close, Jake.
Brave, but Scott McIntyre needs to make moves and hope for a mistake out of Orlandi. He knows that if he can just beat Orlandi by 2 positions, title's going his way, but he can't influence that here at the moment. He's relying on Marc Perez and Filippo Orlandi to come together. He's just got to try and score as many points as he can in this situation. He knows the battle for second and third is over because Bartolotta is down in P15 and he doesn't have anything to fight for in this race. For McIntyre, he's just got to stick behind and hope he keeps out of trouble. Angelo Solura is the driver just in front of him, and there's nothing really saying that he's making that move. Although he is close here in this situation, Connery, there is an opportunity down to the Audi S. He's not close enough, though, to make a move, but he'll try and set him up for the run down into turn number 1 and that Tarzan corner.
Yeah, exactly. Just these 2 medium speed corners at the end of the lap to go until we get to that pit straight, in fact. And if he can get close enough coming through the final corner, he'll have the benefit of the draft off of Angelo Solura coming all the way down the pit straight. Of course, Solura's going to get the tail end of the draft from Xavier Sanchez ahead of him. That's perhaps just going to help him and prevent the move by Scott McIntyre coming down the inside of turn number 1, this banked corner as he follows it so closely. A little bit of contact there, in fact, between Scott McIntyre and Andrew Solura. Not enough to cause any damage, though, but it registered on the iRacing system as Solura just tries to defend that inside line of turn number 3. Does so very well.
He does so very, very well. So Solura with a resilient defense here. Scott McIntyre, not much that he can do to get himself past. There has been a change, though, for the race lead. It's now Marc Perez in front of Filippo Orlandi. That was pretty much your bread and butter into turn number 1. And for Orlandi here, Connery, he doesn't have to go and try and get the win back again. He'd like a race win. He doesn't need a race win for the title, though. He can just sit and he can wait and he can prost this out till the very end. The verb to prost here on RaceSpotTV.
Indeed, and, well, of course, as you mentioned, he doesn't need to win the championship, but I think he'd really be wanting it right now because this is basically one of the highest strengths of field that there ever has been in the Pro Mazda Championship, and Orlandi is going to want to win that one. So he has reason enough to get back past Marc Perez here.
He does here, and it's been maybe a year and a half, 2 years. Certainly is. You have to argue pre-Formula Renault since we've seen the likes of a massive field like this. Again, I remember the likes of Justin Brunner and Govan Keeney battling it out as Orlandi now looks again down to the inside at Tarzan, and he's going to make a big power move and take the position away. But Marc Perez is not done. He'll try and battle this one on the outside into Gerlach. He's not going to be able to hold that line through Gerlach, so he'll have to wait. Jeremy Bootloop now onto the back of the train in the VRS Coanda Simsport number 3 machine there, Connery. 1, 2, and 3, they're all back together again. Jeremy Bootloop hasn't been able to run at the same cadence, though, as everyone else. He's been struggling to get right in there. Shivak now comes up, and Perez had to back out of it there because he was closing too close up to the back of Orlandi.
Yeah, as they head their way through Marlborough right now, then it goes up to Renault. He had the second right-hander, and you gotta say, Jeremy Bootloop, a very experienced driver in other series, coming over to this Pro Mazda car just for this Friday prime time. And well, as I said, he's a very experienced driver. He knows what to do in these situations. If he's not quite on the pace of the top 2 drivers, he can just wait and just sit there behind and just see what happens between these top 2 drivers, because they could get themselves in some sort of incident, and Bootloop's right there to capitalize if something goes wrong.
Yeah, you could argue he is in the catbird seat if you were using IndyCar reference here. The thing that you have to remember about Jeremy Bootloop, he is one of the veterans. He is one of the drivers that everyone has a little bit of respect for. Of course, formerly a Grand Prix driver in the iRacing World Championship, now running in the Blancpain GT series with VRS Coanda Simsport, of course, formerly of the Radicals Online team. The top 3 split by just half a second as they go across the start-finish line. and the top 5 are just split by 2.5 seconds here, Connery. Jonas Puheka has Marcin Arnoldus. He's trying to fight here, and this is for position number 4. If any of the top 3 come together, these 2 drivers will be looking to pick up all the scraps.
Yep, exactly. And can you believe already that we're coming up to around about halfway through this race? Already it's a sprint race by all means, no pit stops at all. It's only 20 laps from the start to finish. And, well, it's going to be go time for most of your drivers right now. It's not like an endurance race where you can wait and just sit there and be happy with your position. These things come and go quite quickly, and, well, they've got to make up positions soon.
They have to make positions up soon. Drivers need to start making ways through. Scott McIntyre is one of them because he's through on Angelo Solura and he's away. Look at this battle, though, down for position number 10 to the inside. Tries Nogueras on Petri Ruotsalainen there. And Ruotsalainen does a good job of defending into Renault corner. That group there, Angelo Solura, you see the gap that's developed there, Connery, is 1.2 seconds between them. Now Scott McIntyre is chasing down Javier Sanchez, and he was that last time by 0.4 of a second quicker.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be, well, it's going to have to be another pass for Scott McIntyre, but he's going to need a lot more passes than just one to bring himself back into the championship fight with Filippo Orlandi. He was 10.1 seconds behind your race leader last time by, and with only about 8 or 9 laps to go, I don't think it's going to happen for Scott McIntyre, pending issues with Filippo Orlandi.
Well, talking about that, Orlandi was under a lot of pressure down in towards Tarzan Bock turn number 1. He moved to the outside of the circuit to try and get the best line through that corner, and that was well played from him because it caught Marc Perez a little bit off guard, and now he's got an ever so slight buffer as they head towards Shivak right now. This is lap 11 of 20, just 10 laps to go, 9 when they cross the line. And any one of these top 3, any one of the top 5 even, you could argue, could still win it. And there's been not any mistakes from any of the top 3 during this race so far. They've all been flawless here. Orlandi holding on to things at the front as he would want to do in a situation, but he knows that Marc Perez and Jeremy Boutaloop want to put that challenge to him, Connery. Right now, would you just be in Orlandi's position if you wanted to be uber conservative? Drop to the back of the train and just hope no one crashes? Or do you want to stay out in front and hope that nobody tries to pass you and create a crash?
I truly think he just wants to win this right now. Again, as I've mentioned before, with one of the highest strength of fields ever in a Pro Mazda race, he wants that accolade to add to his collection. And we're going to see how hard he's going to fight for it here, as Marc Perez has a decent run coming out of the final corner. Again, a more of a defensive inside line for Orlandi, as Marc Perez is going to have to be forced around the outside. No, he's not. He's going to change lanes. Marc Perez has to have a look down the inside. He wasn't really expecting that. And that was a little bit of a cheeky move there from Orlandi.
It was, and it's not the first time he's tried to do it either. So Marc Perez now knows that the outside line is the best one as they head in towards turn number 3. 1, 2, 3, all line Sterling train. Let's get some words out. Xavier Sanchez has been caught by Scott McIntyre as they head through turn number 3. McIntyre looking for position number 6 on circuit, a 1:29.5. His last compared to the 1:30.1 of Sanchez. 0.6 of a second quicker, Connery, and Scott McIntyre can make as many positions up as he likes. He still knows that the championship is too far out of reach, but he just wants to get as many positions as he can to get an overall race result right now.
Yeah, exactly, and that definitely looks to be the case right now, as you mentioned, 0.6 of a second faster than Xavier Sanchez last time by, and well, if that trend continues, then this pass is going to be inevitable. But it's Xavier Sanchez that we're talking about here. He's not one just to let a car down his inside just because the other car's faster.
Exactly, there is no yellow helmet syndrome here for this one. Scott McIntyre's got to do all the dirty work to make these moves happen into the Audi S, and he gets very, very deep on the brakes and takes a shallower line through the inside of the second part of the corner. That's going to compromise the run here as they head to that penultimate corner. Right-hander, get back onto the power once again, and then get yourself back off and going. And it's side-by-side, though, for your race lead into turn number 1, Tarzan Bock, and down the inside, finally, Marc Perez has it, but he's not got it secured. Orlandi gets a much better run coming off of the exit of turn number 1 into 2, around the outside, holds the position, and Orlandi knows how to defend this one. Behind that, though, Puheka has finally got through on Arnoldus and now looks to make the charge further forward, Connery.
Yes, he does, and well, he has around about 3 seconds to gain to be able to catch your lead pack. Looks very, very unlikely coming towards the end of this race, unless these top three absolutely battle like madmen here as they come down into the two right-handers here, and still no position changes just yet as Orlandi still leads them around the circuit. And now, how long can Marc Perez stand staying behind Orlandi?
Well, he will certainly not be liking that gearbox and that exhaust that is puffing out flames every time they shift up and down. So he now knows the way that he wants to fight this. So he tried the inside, it didn't work. He tried the outside, it hasn't worked as of yet. He needs to get himself maybe onto the outside into turn number 1, run that outside line, get himself brave outside turn number 2, and then hold himself off then for the rest of the event. He might be trying to play waiting as Bootloop now starting to fall back here in this battle. Marc Perez tucked in right underneath, looking to close that gap down on Orlandi. Gap across the line. It's going to be about a 1/10 of a second here as he moves to the inside. Orlandi was not going to let him have the outside line. He gets the majority of the inside of the corner, but finally he gets a good run out of the corner, and it's side by side though still as they head through. They tried to go too wide, but finally Marc Perez shuts the door, hangs the washing out to dry, and says, you know what, chores done, I'm up into the race lead.
Yeah, exactly, and this may also be Jeremy Bootloop's opportunity. If he has any other semblance of pace in that Pro Mazda, he may also be looking to try and get past the number 7 machine, as well as they head their way into Shivat corner, turn number 6, coming down into Marlboro. Filippo Orlandi has a run coming down into here, but he's going to back out of the move just for now. He's just being a little bit patient, as actually is he. He's just going to look for the dive right down the inside of Renault, and they're going to have the opportunity coming down into Vodafone because the track is so wide here on entry as well. Still not going to be able to make it work.
He's looking to try and force a mistake out of the driver and Marc Perez. He's testing his mettle and he's losing time in this situation, but he knows he can build that up back in the slipstream. Scott McIntyre in the 8 machine is through on Javier Sanchez for position number 6. He did that last lap, so now he's got 7 seconds to catch on Marcin Arnoldus, and I don't see that happening in the last 7 laps of this event. But we've still got some great battles. Daniel Nogueras versus Petri Ruotsalainen here. And Ruotsalainen just about infringes the draft here, Connery, to hold off against Nogueras.
Yep, exactly, as there was some IndyCar sort of draft swerving at the front as Filippo Orlandi looks towards the inside of turn number 1, still too far back to be able to make an opportunity of it coming down the inside there, as Marc Perez does hold the lead just for now, with about 6 laps to go at this point in time. Still, any of your top 3 can win this race.
Top 4, I'd argue Piheka's got a chance. 129 won the last time by, although a mistake coming out of turn number 3 will jeopardize that a little bit. He was about a second quicker than the driver of Bootloop. He was about 1.2 quicker than Orlandi, and he was about 0.8 of a second quicker than Marc Perez on that last lap, because they were all fighting so hard into that big Renault corner that they're going to be heading along. They've just come through Marlborough, now in through Renault, then they come along, and it's just a case of waiting. It's a passive corner. There's a lot of medium to low speed corners around here, but there's nothing really tight around this circuit, Connery, in terms of cornering. You can't send one down the inside very easily, because the moment that you do, you know that there is going to be an opportunity of retort on the exit.
Yep, exactly, and in one way that is just exemplified by the turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 section. You can hold the inside line for turn 1, hold the inside line for turn 2, but if the car on the outside has managed to hold it around the outside for those 2 corners, they have the inside line for turn number 3 and maybe can get the pass defended, as again, moving towards the inside is Marc Perez, having to force Filippo Orlandi around the outside for turn number 1, and this is a move that can be done because of the banking, but does he get it done this time by still hold it around the outside? Now he has to hold it around the outside for turn number 2 as well, like I said, so then he'll have they have the inside line for turn number 3, and he gets the pass done even before the entry to turn number 3. That's Orlandi back to the front.
It is, and for Marc Perez, that is a little bit of tactical weakness there, in my opinion, because he had the opportunity to go to the outside and run the Orlandi line, he just didn't feel confident enough to do it, and as such has lost the position back again as the pair continue to go on. Xavier Sanchez, though, has run into issues, and that's a heavy issue as well, and that's coming out of turn number 1. Was side by side with McIntyre. On the exit they go. Oh, and the race lead battle continues on as well here, Connery, as side by side they go into what is Vodafone, and Orlandi holding on to things for the time being as Marc Perez is trying everything to make a move happen.
Yeah, he's going to be close enough coming down the inside of the Audi S, but that only gives them the advantage for the initial part of it, because he'll have to hang it around the outside of the second part on that banking as they head their way side by side for the race lead. That's Marc Perez through on Filippo Orlandi, but only by just a fraction of a car's length, as Orlandi will have the draft and the opportunity coming down into turn 1.
And now Puheka's on the trainer 4. Here comes Orlandi to the outside line that he seems to love in towards turn number 1. And with just 4 laps to go, business, in the words of good old JR, has just picked up, and he'll get the move done surely before turn number 1. Bootloop will try and follow the line, but right now the top 5 are split by a second and a half. Perez tries to fall back into line. He will fall back into line. That's going to allow the driver Orlandi a little bit of breathing room as they head through turn number 3. Trainer 5, it now is Connery.
Yeah, this is all this fighting is just allowing the likes of Puheka and Arnaldos as well to be able to catch up and to make this a 5-car fight for the race lead coming towards the end of this race. So a few laps ago, it was 3 cars that could win this race. Then it was 4 cars, and now 5 cars.
It is now 5 in through Marlborough. The trainer 4 goes along as Puheka now dives to the inside of Bootloop. Goes in a bit too deep. They touch, and over and round. It's going to go Jeremy Bootloop. He just manages to avoid Martin Arnaldos, but Bootloop's chance is now gone in terms of the battle. Let's get a replay on screen of that one. It was just a case of being a little bit too greedy there from Puheka. It was a big turnaround. In fact, there was contact between Bootloop and Arnaldos. That was the whole point of Bootloop getting back together again. Now with front nose damage, that was the warning shot, and for a driver like Scott McIntyre, he hoped that it was Orlandi that was involved. It wasn't.
Yep, exactly, and McIntyre only has a couple of laps for his wish to come true. As I'm looking back at the incident, Puheka way too late on the brakes, completely missing the apex by a country mile, pushing Bootloop off of the track as we head towards live pictures right now, side by side for the race lead. Coming down into turn 1 yet again, this time is Marc Perez on the outside line, but he files in behind just for the exit, looking to get a good run, maybe to make an opportunity of it, coming down into turn number 3, but he's not going to be close enough to make that move just yet as he followed him close.
As soon as it was a trainer 4 looking towards a trainer 5, it's now a trainer 2 trying to become a trainer 3. Puheka's there, but he's not there enough, and I think he's not even getting the draft, or is maybe getting the faintest of coattails to hang on to right now. Marc Perez, though, versus Filippo Orlandi. That's your battle for the race lead. That's the battle that could decide a championship here if Orlandi and Perez come together. But here on Friday night primetime, the action does never rest, and it certainly always does try to throw up a spectacle. When they cross the line, Connery, it's 2 laps to go. And in this situation, as Orlandi runs a little bit wide, actually, coming out of that corner of Vodafone, you have to feel that both drivers have given everything on this circuit here today.
They've given everything, and they've also given us and the viewers a absolutely fantastic show as they head up towards the final 2 corners for what is going to be coming up to the 2 to go mark, as you have mentioned. And Perez looking to get a good run out here, gets a decent run. Again, a defensive inside line for Orlandi, trying to break the draft as he actually is going to move towards the outside line to defend turn 1 as Perez looks for the inside line, does not decide to go for it just yet though. He's biding his time, but there's not a lot of time left.
There was a lot of weaving from Marc Perez. He wasn't confident enough on the straight, maybe looking to try and get a half nose as he has a little half look again into turn number 3. But again, he's not going to be able to make anything happen here. Is that driver in the number 1 machine of Marc Perez, indicating he has the highest iRacing in the field. Don't count out some other battles. Salura versus Ruotsalainen is going to be another one there, as actually Daniel Nogueras has had himself an issue in the last lap or so, and that was out at the penultimate corner, and that's a self-spin, Connery, and that was from a very good position.
Yeah, exactly. An absolute shame for Nogueras there, just struggling to get the traction down coming out of the final corner. Self spins it, no help from anyone else, but we're just still looking towards this battle for the race lead as Orlandi's pulled out just 1 or 2 tenths of a second of a gap over Marc Perez. That could be the buffer he needs, but Marc Perez is still well within that draft, within the draft range. So they head the way through the Audi S's for what is going to be the penultimate time here at Zandvoort, heading through the final few corners. It's going to be white flag out next time by, and let's see who comes out on top.
White flag out this time by then as Orlandi holds the advantage on the final lap at Zandvoort here in the Pro Mazda Championship. Look to move here and they're going to try and switch the beams, but Perez had to back out there. Little bit of a misdemeanor. Big power move to the inside from Perez. Orlandi will have the outside that he's used so well. Will use the advantage of the better traction down the hill as he heads now up into 3 of Gerlach and now 4. They're going to try and hold it side by side into this long section, and now they'll try and get the run up the hill for the driver of Marc Perez. Elbows out. There's nothing left to lose in terms of this one. Orlandi holding the advantage then up the hill through the lefts and rights then of the dunes and to the inside, maybe a Shivak. Very difficult place to make a move. Perez thinks better of it and backs off. Loses a couple of tenths of a second because of that one. And now Marlboro followed up now by Renault here as they now head through these series of right-handers. It will change to a left and the gap's open. Mistake though from Orlandi as he ran a little bit wide. Had to correct himself a little bit to the inside, and now a mistake from Perez as he was a little bit too greedy down on the inside. They've been pushing each other too hard, and now the gap is a little bit larger as Perez feels a little bit miffed after that. Felt that the door was unfairly closed into the right left of the Audi S, and now Puheka onto the back, but it will be too little and it will be too late, barring a mistake in the final 2 corners. The last real test of braking is this penultimate corner, and Orlandi takes it with aplomb and doesn't even put a tyre out in the gravel on the left-hand side to the line with a fantastic resilient defense. Orlandi will take a championship as well as a race victory, and well, Filippo Orlandi will take the Pro Mazda crown on this Friday night prime time event. Second in the championship will go to Scott McIntyre in position number 6. A crazy wild race for him, but he lost out positions and didn't get the luck he wanted, Connery.
No, he did not, and that's going to be Filippo Orlandi getting the race win here. As I said before, one of the highest strengths of field that we've had in the Pro Mazda series, thanks to this Friday prime time from RaceSpot, and he's just driving slowly around the track right now, just taking in the championship win and the race win on a big stage right here, and very well done to him. And he gave us a good show as well, himself, Marc Perez, and of course Jeremy Bootloop as well. Absolutely fantastic show. Thank you, guys.
It was an absolutely brilliant show. It's the last of the cars will get themselves to the start-finish line. Let's get a grid then. Well, not even a grid. Let's get ourselves an official classified results then from the circuit of Circuit Park Zandvoort. The field in the end finished up as follows. Filippo Orlandi. Well, Filippo Orlandi would take the victory in the end. 30 minutes, 2 seconds. He'll take the win in the end by 4 tenths overall from the driver of Marc Perez. Jonas Puheka finishes in 3rd. Martin Arnoldus will finish in 4th, with Jeremy Bootloop suffering with an incident in the final couple of laps to finish 5th. Scott McIntyre, championship contender, fell down by the wayside in 6th. Angelo Solera would finish 7th, with Petri Rostalainen making 6 positions at the end to get himself into position number 8. Zach Reinke up to 9th, as Daniel Nogueras would round out the top 10 with a spin. And then the second page, Stefan Rosgen, Joseph Newman, Ollie Kroker, and Max Bartolotta round out the field for today. But aside from that, Xavier Sanchez, Justin Lindsay, and Jurgen Frank were drivers who finished laps down or failed to finish. But for the time being, we're going to step aside for just one quick moment, the post-race show. Coming to you after these few messages, you're watching the RaceSpotTV prime-time broadcast of this, the Pro Mazda Championship. And well, the fantastic finale to what has been RaceSpotTV primetime Friday night has given us all a spectacle that we wanted to behold. It was Filippo Orlandi who took the victory in a number 7 machine, and with that took the championship as well in that regard. It was a beautiful race all throughout, the likes of Marc Perez in second, and a driver standing by with Connery Malik for interview, who came home in third, and that is Jonas Puheka.
Yeah, Jonas Puheka qualified 6th place, finished on the final step of the podium, in fact. And, well, you were 4th or 5th for most of that race, trying to catch the leaders. But then the leaders started fighting, and you were reeled into that fight for the front.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for that, which is why I didn't want to battle Martin too much at the early goings. So I was trying to indicate him to, just go. But then I saw one chance, didn't get past, saw another chance, got past, and after that I was just trying to catch up to the leaders.
Yep, exactly. And, well, eventually you did. You made it a 4-car train for the front of the field. And there was shall we say, a hopeful move? Shall we say a hopeful move, Jonas?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's a move more suitable from far less experienced driver than myself. And it's 100% my fault. I saw a gap and I went there and there was a gap. And then I looked at brakes and screwed the braking a little bit. So I went too far deep into the corners. All credit to Jeremy for managing to avoid me, but I didn't mean to do that, so sorry to Jeremy and also Martin, who was involved, and after that I was just trying to get on my beats, but it was quite difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And you did miss the apex by about 15 miles right there. But and then, of course, the other car of Martin did actually get caught up in the instant when Bootloop span back into the middle of the track. And how was it, apart from that, out there today, in terms of the racing, especially with Martin, when you're behind the race leaders?
Well, with Martin it was good. I was unsure because I hadn't raced against him previously. I'm always a bit cautious. Okay, call me elitist, but I'm always a bit cautious when I see high numbers up in the front, that's usually indicating troubles. But this time it wasn't. Martin was a really clean racer, did nothing wrong. And he did really well to hold me back, put his car in all the right places. And I couldn't really get the message to him that go. So once I got past, he gave me the room nicely on the outside, and that was fine. And the racing was great. I haven't raced a Pro Mazda in 2 years, so it was good to be back, but I hope for a result that didn't indicate a comment of Club Finland dirty dive.
All right. Well, we may see Pro Mazda back next season for Friday Primetime if you, the sim racing fans, go out and vote for it. But Jake, this is about all we're going to have time for. But before I pass back to you, Eunice, are there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
From Australia, unfortunately, I can't remember his name because I'm really bad with names, but this morning there was one guy helping me with the setup, Richard Craig, I think it was. Richard Craig, and shout out to him, and shout out also to the Trellet community and the Club Finland community. Thank you. And you for broadcasting.
All right, thank you very much, and back to you, Jake.
Yes, and well, unfortunately, that is one of the last things that we have to say there, talking to Jonas Puheka finishing in third. I do want to talk about the next season, though, here for Season 3 of the iRacing format. I want to talk about next season's RaceSpotTV primetime. It is going to work ever so slightly different. The format is very similar in the fact that you, the audience at home, will have a chance to vote for what is going on week to week. But already we have some defined combos already in, and for some other weeks, we will have the voting open for the public, and you will vote for them all at once instead of having to vote every single week for that. But of course, that has been Connery Malik to my left-hand side, and also that has been Hugo Louis behind the cameras on my right. I have been #DoYouMindJake Sperry, and the title will go to Filippo Orlandi with a sensational drive. A little bit of controversy, but that's racing in the end when everyone is trying to get those results through. Don't forget that we still have some fantastic action here on RaceSpotTV over the weekend. The likes of the Grand Prix Series will be hosting its season finale on the Sunday afternoon. And on the Sunday evening, the Gathering of Tweakers are back for a Samba special. Make sure you check that one out on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. But from the RaceSpotTV primetime viewing, we're going to make sure that we see this all over again in a couple of weeks' time. Don't go away. Have a good evening.